I am because God is. Because of the God force within me, he is mine and I am his. For I am what I am, all because God is. God is my heavenly Father from up on high and above. He's the light of all life and the living embodiment of true love. And when I find that I'm in need of heaven's intensive love and care, I just bow my head and whisper a prayer. And when life suddenly smiles upon me with a frown, and all my ups start to look down, because I put my trust in God, because he's always around. My God, my God is forever mine as I am eternally his. For I am what I am, all because God is. Hi, I'm Danny Queen, and welcome to another edition of Color Me Poetry. I'd like to welcome my lovely guest, Miss Pam A. Carrington. And Pam is a poetess to the highest order. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started writing.
Okay, well, I started writing in elementary school as a release for some of my feelings because I was a regressor at that time.
Hmm.
And I found that poetry was like an avenue for me to express those inner feelings, opinions, and thoughts about myself.
So it was an emotional thing for you?
Well, partially
Mm.
emotional, partially just fun, you know.
Mm.
It was a way for me to just say what I felt about certain issues that were happening at the time, as well as express what I felt deeply about those particular issues.
How did your classmates or your parents, you get support from them? How they feel?
Well, my parents were very supportive. Some of my friends thought I was a bit eccentric, but, or, you know, rather strange because I had a strange talent that maybe at the time they didn't understand, but as my work progressed, they came to support a lot more of the things that I did.
Do you sometimes find it's hard to get people to understand what you see, to see what you see and to feel what you feel?
It depends on the subject that I'm writing about,
Mm.
mostly.
So you use your pen to paint pictures with words?
Most times I do.
Mm.
Most times I do. But there are some things that I have done that may shoot over a few people's heads.
Well, that's all right. But you know, they say that most poets and writers and people who are talented, quote unquote, are eccentric in some way. You
Yeah,
know, you,
I agree.
you find people say that. People say that, well, man, you got a wild imagination. You know, they say
I get
things
that
like
a
that.
lot. You have a wild
But you had to
imagination.
have imagination to write, though.
Well, that's what it's about. I mean, you take a piece of reality and you extend it, or you express it so that another individual can understand exactly what you see.
And see what you see.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
from what I've seen, you have some beautiful work, and I'd like to ask that you share something with us at this time.
Sure. I like to share a poem that I did called The Influence. It was done basically as I looked around the young people. And it reads something like this. When I look into a baby's eyes, an innocence shines clear, for they are brought into the world without prejudice, hostilities, or fear. And as they grow older, they depend on us to influence their future goals. To them we are the lesson, or shall I say the mold. Our youth, much older now and out of control, has us wondering where to place the blame. Just you remember they still had innocence until our generation's influence came. So when we think of society and our present mess, remember a child is born with innocence. It's up to us how they progress. And that's
Mm.
the influence.
Most beautiful. Now, that is
Thank
quite
you.
influential. It's interesting that you talk about children that way because, children ought to see the truth. I mean, the
Exactly.
innocence of a child. I mean, there's no innocence in the world. There's no truth in the world like the truth that comes from an innocent child. I remember a song by Stevie Wonder called Heart. I think it's the heart of a child or with eyes of a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way that writer really describes a child, the way a child thinks. And I think you really captured that there.
Well, it's kind of important that we do cater or focus on the children of today because they are future leaders. And without them around, we have no future, you know. And right now, there's a lot happening in society that hinders the growth of our nation or uh, any futuristic ideas that we may have because a lot of our teenagers are dying now. And that's
That's
why the
right.
focus needs to
And
be on
children
kids.
are faced with so much nowadays. I mean, not like kids
Exactly.
grew up, say, 25 or 30 years ago. Kids nowadays, I mean, they have to grow up so quick,
Hmm.
and they have to respond to so much. In some ways, they're the greatest generation we ever had because the things that they had to be faced with and still expected to succeed, especially when you think about black kids in the inner city.
Yeah, and I also, well, it makes me look back a little bit. When I was coming up, things were so much easier. We had
Life was
recreation
simpler.
centers.
Yeah.
The most that you did to settle a dispute, if you got physical, was a fist fight. Now,
Right. Quite
you have
different.
to watch out. Before you go to the party, most of your basic equipment is money, wallet, a bulletproof vest, and things of
To the
that nature.
party. Yeah.
Exactly,
That's what we're
just to
facing now.
simply enjoy yourself. And the average person, com- compared comparing then to now,
Hmm.
uh, at one time they could leave their doors open, sit on the porch all night long, or fall asleep on the porch.
Right. And nobody would bother.
Right now, you
Yeah.
have to watch or pray that you get from one corner to the next, and
But that's the overall society, though. Also,
that's
I
true.
mean that we all faced with this, and partially I think that's because of the drugs and all that. Things have changed so quickly. It seemed like.
Well, I also believe that where our youth as well as adults are concerned, that if you're going to take away something negative, you need to replace it with something
That's
positive.
right.
And I don't believe that there are enough things at this point that have been replaced to counteract the
That's true.
negativity that's in our society.
You had to do more than just say no to drugs.
Exactly.
Okay, you say no, but then what do you place there, to stop that person from going back?
Well,
You
not
know.
only that, a part of it is the going back.
Hmm.
If you're in a group that you know is known for trouble and you decide that you want to go another way, why would you go back to the group? So I mean, part of it is environment as well as making a decision, to just say no to something.
And peer pressure also.
Exactly.
Yeah, the need to be accepted. That's how gangs, street gangs come into existence. The need to be accepted. We have latchkey kids and all, and they feel need to be accepted by their friends, their peers in the street. So that's how you
Exactly.
get gangs.
That's the truth. Well, and I also think that you get gangs by one that's a little more knowledgeable having an influence over one that's naive.
Mm.
A lot of parents say they talk to their kids these days, and they may talk to them about some of the subjects like growing up,
Mhm.
or being in school, but the topics that are important, like what to do when you're under
Mhm.
pressure by those that you're around, or how to handle yourself when you get into a situation where there's trouble, or how to avoid trouble. A lot of those topics are not
Yes,
discussed in detail like they should be today.
and they really should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. I say a good poem is worth 1,000,000 words.
Well, I have a short one that I'd
Okay.
like to share with you. It's my motto, and it's called Inspiration.
Okay.
And it reads, "For every drop of rain that falls, a tear is saved for me, and only used when times get hard to cleanse my eyes that I may see the beautiful things I have." And that's my inspiration.
That's a beautiful motto.
Thank you.
Certainly inspirational.
Thank you so much.
Mm. I like to have a motto like that. It's good to have a motto or something that to inspire yourself and inspire other people. Even when you get up in the morning, have some positive inspiration,
Yeah.
that you can say to yourself.
Well, I say that, and I have several others that kind of move me on throughout the day. Not all written by
Affirmations.
myself. Yeah, they're written by others, but the ideas are quite similar to what I
And
feel.
positive.
Yeah, they're very
Mm.
positive. So I endure what other people write as well.
What makes you right? What propels you? I mean, we talked about when you were a child, but now that you're grown, what propels you to write?
Well, a lot of things propel me. Situations in society now. I
Hmm.
know that I am one person, and for some things I can't change, but
That's right.
I can express my ideas on it, and that's what I do with poetry sometimes now. And then there are sometimes where I just have inner thoughts that, or there may be a problem that
Mm.
has bothered me about something, and this is my release. That's what I use it for,
It's a
as
great
release.
release, and
Exactly.
also poetry is like it's like therapy, really. It's
Exactly.
therapeutic. It's a great release of emotion, but at the same time, it's an art form. You
Well,
mold
it's
that.
also, for me, it's like a timeline because
Okay.
in some of the poetry that I write, it covers issues that may be occurring at a specific time. For instance, I have one called The Little Hurricane Girl,
Okay.
and it was written during the time where we were having this major hurricane that I think it wiped out some
Mm.
of California.
A
And
couple of years ago.
yeah, and it reads, up, up with a swish and a swirl. It's me, the little hurricane girl, getting to places that I never thought I'd see, finding and meeting people scooped up like me. You don't need a ticket to travel this ride. Just be in the path where the winds soar high. The only downfall is that I have no control of the wind when I tell it I want to go home.
Mm.
And that's the little hurricane girl.
And that's where the inspiration comes from.
Yes, you
From
know,
Major Hurricane.
exactly. I thought about what it might be like to be in a hurricane. I've never experienced
No,
it,
me neither.
and I don't particularly wish to experience
Hurricane
it.
or tornado.
Exactly. But I imagine what it might be like for those people, you know.
I know as a writer, sometimes my emotions are like a hurricane or a tornado. Sometimes I say they're volcanic, because sometimes you know how volcanoes, smolders
It
and
erupts and
erupts,
explodes.
finally erupts. And that's the way it is when I write sometimes, because I'll start off with just a basic idea. I may just have it in my head, and then later on, as it grows, I'll write it down and start taking notes, and then it finally erupts when I actually sit down to write that piece. I'm compelled to do that, because if I go a long time and don't write, emotionally, I'm not, I'm kind of unbalanced. I'm very edgy. I say it's got to come through. I mean, that subconscious mind is really so powerful, because a lot of things I write really come through the subconscious mind. We don't know the
Exactly.
power, and we don't talk enough about the power of the subconscious mind, because the conscious mind is on one level, but the subconscious mind, a lot of times things come through on a whole nother level. They don't always come.
Exactly, and people don't really realize that most times you think from your subconscious as
Right.
opposed to your conscious level, you know. So I do agree in that, you know, you do use your subconscious a lot.
Off more than you think.
Exactly.
But the
Exactly.
two has
They
to
have
work
to
together.
correspond a little bit too.
Yeah, that's true. I've read books that said that the subconscious mind is so powerful that when we're sleeping, we're still learning. And it's like an energy, really, if you will, that keeps our bodily organs functioning, because the conscious mind is resting.
Well, think
Interesting.
of if you've ever had a dream, you know,
Hmm.
and you take in some of the thoughts that may have occurred during the day or
Right.
characters that may have occurred during the day. So it has to work with your
And they
subconscious.
replay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they replay in your dreams, you know. So I would believe that, you know, the subconscious is quite
And
powerful in
that
that.
subconscious mind can be programmed negatively or positively. Look at the commercials. You ever watch a bad movie on TV at night,
Yes.
and and
And
you
take
wake
it
up in the
into my
morning,
dream.
right, taking it to your dream, and wake up screaming,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've done that several times. As a
Mm.
matter of fact, it's really strange that at one time uh, I feel that I'm very kinesthetic,
Okay.
and I would have dreams that dealt with very close friends and family members where I could almost tell them certain things were going to happen to them,
Mm.
you know, before they happen. And in that sense, I wrote a poem
Okay.
called
Share.
The Bad Dream,
Okay.
and I'd like to share it with you. Awkwardly stretched figures and the strangest of sounds encompass me. However, when I turn around, nothing. People I've known and faces I've seen move slowly, as if reality itself a movie screen.
Mm.
Everything first happening in black and white, when all of a sudden, a burst of color takes flight. And to my chagrin, again, there's nothing. Now all I see are hands, no weight or place. Though it's foreign to me, somehow I know what awaits. And it's not good. Can this be real? Or can it be something I wanted to see, something I wanted to feel? I'm not sure, but I still turn to run across an ever-shortening field, only to find myself face to face with doom and its evil sneer. Doom surrounds me, and I find I can't breathe. I know I'm sweating, that I can feel, until the alarm starts to ring out, and I find myself staring at an empty room. That's the bad dream.
Mm. That is a bad dream. That is beautiful. We want to talk about it. We're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back. This is Danny Queen. This is Color Me Poetry. We'll be right back.
Grandpa!
Hey, how you doing? Come on.
Look what I do in school today, Grandpa.
Oh, my. The harp. Very good. The aorta, the left and right ventricles, and the auricles.
Yeah, but how do you know so much about the heart? Did you want to be a doctor when you were little?
Well,
Being black once meant forgetting about your dreams. Today, the United Negro College Fund keeps these dreams alive with a quality education.
But you would have been the best doctor, Grandpa.
oh, you think so?
But without your support, new dreams will die.
Can I be a doctor? Grandpa?
Hi, I'm Danny Queen, and welcome back to Color Me Poetry. We're here with the lovely Miss Pam A. Carrington, and we were talking about dreams before we went on the break.
Yeah, dreams and all the imagination involved with just having one specific dream, and how thoughts are carried over from your conscious mind to your subconscious.
And that's very powerful. You know, there is an African religion that deals with ancestor worship, and they believe that we communicate with our ancestors, and ancestors communicate with us through dreams.
Well, in believing that there is such thing as extrasensory perception, I believe that you can get a lot of messages from dreams. If you can take what happens in reality into a dream, why not be able to bring something from a dream into reality, you know? And in that sense, I think writers use that a lot when they're creating poetry. It's not only what happens realistically, but it may be something that if it has occurred in a dream or an expansion of a dream that they may have had before, if they can remember.
Well, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, most of my dreams occur during the daytime. I set up daydreams and stuff. But I understand that doctors often say sometimes that's good.
Yeah.
Especially in a stressful situation, you find your mind just get away.
Well,
you know?
I think that's a signal from the body to tell you that it's
You need
time
a
to
break.
take a small break.
Yeah. And that's so important when you write poetry or being artistic. You know, you need that release sometimes, that creative energy to flow.
Yeah, and I think it's also like a release for, or it sets a pattern more so for some of the things that you may want to say in reality when you're speaking with someone else. You know, I think dreams are very helpful in that benefit too. At least they've been helpful for me.
Pam, how does ideas come to you? How do you write a poem? Do you write the title first? Because a lot of people, they write the poem and then say, oh, let me think of a great title. How do you do that?
Well, no poem for me is just written straight out as a poem.
Okay.
A lot of times I may be writing, and I carry pen and pencil with me almost everywhere I go. And an idea or a subject may just come into focus. I may see someone on the street, or I may watch the news and a story may catch my attention, or someone may just say something and I say, you know, that's really a great idea for a poem. I say this to myself, maybe not so much to the person, but I'll go home and I'll work with what thoughts come up behind the idea, and usually
Deal with it.
yeah, cluster the thoughts together later on.
And that's exactly how it happens.
Yes.
You start from the title?
Not always from the title. Sometimes from the subject.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to share something with you.
Please do.
That's an example of it. It's called The Future Looks Bleak. And it goes, babies having babies every day, but as soon as they're having them, someone's blowing them away, and newsy in the wrong hands. You can't write the alphabets or even sign your name, but you remember all the rappers, the curse words, the games. Education now for many is a thing of the past, because you got heart and a gun, you make money fast. The innocent suffer as they struggle to keep their lives, too afraid to be seen because the crime rate's so high. Depression, recession, unemployment soars. There's more people living outside than there is indoors, and the hunger we often try to hide. The rhythmic sounds of street corner singers, somewhat now extinct, have been replaced with gunslingers, the capitalists of a drug exchange, leaving behind streets drenched in red, accented with bodies of future leaders dead, the remains of a posse hit. Mourners crying, hostilities on the rise, and there's talk of some type of revenge. This is before the preacher speaks. before the funeral begins. The preacher speaks and we start to cool down, but now we're busy looking around, trying to figure out why this had to happen. But what's happened here is no one's fault, not the teachers or those who were taught the rules. Trying to figure out we're victims of social environment. So what's the cure and how do we proceed? May I suggest by we're starting to feel some of the needs to replace the negative with the positive? The future looks bleak.
Boy.
And that one is more so based on observations of the news, what I see around in the city, friends of my daughters.
Stirs the emotion.
Yeah,
Certainly
it should
stirs me.
it should make you ask questions. So my writing stems from many different avenues.
You can do so much with poetry, with the medium of poetry. You believe, like some people say, well, poetry, you know, it's a dying art form.
No, I believe as long as there are expressions, there's going to be poetry as well as music, because music it starts out with poetry.
Yeah.
You know, it may not always rhyme, but the message is basically there. And poetry for me is just a collection of ideas, you know, expressed in a pattern, you know.
And a medium for saying what you want to say.
Exactly.
Expressing ideas.
Exactly.
Well, let's have you express another poem.
Okay, sure. I'd like to share with you one that I'd like to really dedicate to those who carry guns. Okay? Listen, scared and ignorant one, who thinks you're now brave and bad. Don't you know guns are dumb because guns are bad? That gun is truly not your friend. Look at all the trouble it causes. Another body found dead last night. Another family's losses. The bullets, they don't discriminate, and you don't always hit where you aim. An innocent life may be lost. You should feel ashamed. Well, what if you do hit your target? Do you think the problem's solved? Get real, it only starts a cycle and gets others involved. Now you're the problem because you didn't think things through. A bullet or number has a name on it for you. For once you've taken a life, you can't give it back. Surely you don't think you deserve a trophy for that. Our race will become extinct if you keep up at this pace. It's not up to you, Mr. Man, to determine our fates. But now here we are, prisoners of our own home, because idiots like you roam our streets with your guns and portable phones. That gun is not your friend. It is only a tool. Get rid of the gun, oh ignorant one. Be a man and not a fool. Put the guns down.
Boy, that certainly speaks to the time.
Yeah.
It's a sign of the times, really. And that's why I love your poetry, because you seem to have that energy to focus right in and to tune in and to give us, you know, your perception of it.
Well,
in such a way, though.
Being one who is a victim of family violence because of the streets, I lost my brother and nephew on a Labor Day shooting spree.
Wow.
And I like to express what I feel or share what I feel with others, because I'm sure there are many families now that have experienced some type of loss because of a person being innocently on the street or having some involvement with the streets. And it's important that that be brought out because...
and I feel your pain there, too.
Yeah, you know, it's very, it's not, it's more so a frustration for me now to try and get a message across that there's another way to handle survival in life. And most gangsters are now in their graves, you know, to play a gangster's role or to follow the lifestyle of a gangster, thinking that you're bad because someone gives you fake gold or even real gold, you know.
Yes.
That's not all. That's not all
it's
that
not worth
there is
human
to
life.
life, you know. It should be worth a lot more to you, or you should think a lot more of yourself than just to think that materialistic things are the only things that matter, you know. And for me, yeah, it is very painful because I see friends that I had gone to school with, you know, turn their lives completely around just for materialistic things. And then they achieve these things and find out that that's really not enough, you know, or that's not all that they need it. You know, they have the materialistic things, but they have nothing on their minds. You know?
Yes, and that's part of the problem. Really.
Exactly.
Anytime you would take somebody's life over a radio, a pair of tennis shoes, a jacket, a pair of EK sunglasses, I mean, it's,
Yeah,
I have
mean,
a problem with that.
you can't
No
take those
value.
things with you anyway.
Right,
It's
you didn't
better
come
when-
with them.
Well, I think it's better when you can leave an influence on another individual. You know, you may give someone
Positive
materialistic things. They wear away eventually.
Right.
You know, but when you leave your influence on someone, it lasts longer.
That's right.
Much longer. You know, and in that sense, I think that it's very important that people start dealing with what's happening on the streets as well as, you know, what's happening inside the home. You know, because it's really getting very bad. You know?
Wow, it is. And we have to start with self. We have to start with the love of self. People who say they love everybody. I don't believe in that people talk all that time. Oh, we love everybody. That's wrong with some other Christians. For we turn the other cheek, we love everybody. But I say you're a lie. The truth ain't in you. When you tell me you love everybody, until you love yourself, you don't love everybody. It's impossible.
Exactly. I think the word "I love you" is used now like, "What's your name?"
Yeah, taken for granted.
Yeah, they take that particular phrase for granted quite often. The meaning for me, I take it very seriously because I don't use the phrase very often.
If you don't mean it, don't use it.
Exactly, you know, and when I use it, I do mean it, you know. There should be, there are several types of love, but there should be a common love for one another.
That's right.
But you can't extend that until you have a love for yourself.
And that's important.
It is
Do you have a
very
short
important.
piece, Pam, that you can share with us on the way out?
Yes, I'd like to share one that I did for my brother. It's called "In Saying Goodbye." And it was done for him at his funeral.
Okay.
Today your body will be put to rest, but I know we'll meet again. Because one's soul never dies, it's just taken to be cleansed. I know you're resting in a sphere of peace, and praise God for that revelation. For now you're finally free to exist without judgment or condemnation. There will be a bond between us because your memories I'll hold on to until we meet in judgment, and again it's me and you. So when my heart feels its heaviest, I promise to sing out in song. And when the blues and emptiness creeps in, I will keep it moving along. But if ever I feel I'm totally lost or that I just can't cope, on my knees I'll turn to God in prayer and let his will be so.
Oh, most beautiful.
Thank you.
I can feel that emotion there. You're a very emotional person, too, aren't you?
Yes, most times I am.
Yeah. But it takes that also to be able to write. I mean, it's more than emotion, but it certainly takes that. Yeah. It's been so great having you here. We're going to have you back in the future.
I really
and
enjoyed.
It's beautiful. And you keep writing. You keep being strong.
I will.
And we love your work. And we're looking forward to having you back here on Color Me Poetry. And I'm Danny Queen. And until next time, Color Me Poetry.